How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, along with Ben Upson, to talk about the Knicks. A couple of things. So, they were eliminated on Saturday in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals to the Indiana Pacers, but news broke yesterday that they also parted ways with their head coach, Tom Thibodeau. So, that's another big thing that we are going to cover as well. But let's get into Game 6. So, I didn't feel great about it. It was great that the Knicks were able to win Game 5 at the Garden. They at least gave the home crowd something to be happy about going into this Game 6. Maybe there was a possibility that they could win this game and get back to Game 7, but I just didn't feel great about it. And I did say this when we recapped Game 5, when we saw Tyrese Halliburton, grinning at the end of that game. I said, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. We know how this is going to end. And that's exactly what happened. Now, the Knicks did play a competitive first half. OG Anunoby hit a buzzer beater at the end of the first half. You had to feel great where the Knicks were, but it was kind of just more of the same throughout this what we saw throughout the series. Turnovers continued to be a problem for this team. They had 17 turnovers, and that led to 34 points for the Pacers. And, of course, all five starters for the Pacers scored in the double digits. Tyrese Halliburton had a good game, 13 assists. He had 21 points. He went 9 of 17 from the field. And the Pacers won the game 125 to 108, and that ends what was a very good season for the Knicks. And a lot of people talking about how this season was a failure, which I think is ridiculous because this team has not been to the conference finals in 25 years, and we're going to call this a failure. I disagree with that. I disagree with that completely. And we will talk about Thibs being let go and what our thoughts are on that. But really, to kind of just look at this Knicks season as a whole, it was a successful season. And they made a lot of moves to try to take themselves over the top. They came up a little bit short. They came up 2 wins short of making it to the NBA Finals. Would have liked to have seen Mikal Bridges do better this year because, especially with what the Knicks gave up to get him. And he was inconsistent. If there's one thing we could talk about with this team is inconsistent at times. Karl Anthony Towns, very frustrating for a lot of people, but he showed you at times during these playoffs that he could take over a game. Defense, not his strong suit, gets into foul trouble a lot. Jalen Brunson had a great year, of course. Clutch player of the year, all of that. This team, there definitely needs to be some tinkering with it. I think you saw the flaws that they have, particularly on the bench, and, obviously defensively, you'd like to see them improve in that area if they could add some better role players as well. Maybe, make some moves with the starting lineup where you have Josh Hart coming off the bench like we saw a little bit in these playoffs. So the Knicks are not that far off, right? But now with the Thibodeau move, parting ways with him, that just adds a whole nother layer to this. But this was a very good year for the Knicks. The Pacers are really good. That's the bottom line. We knew this coming in. We had this series going. I think you also had it going 7 games as well. If I'm not mistaken. I had it going 7 games. I thought the Knicks would win in 7, but it was going to be tough. This is a very deep team, and I know they're heavy underdogs in these NBA Finals against the Thunder, but I do think they could give the Thunder a tough time. And maybe we'll give a little bit of a prediction of that towards the end of the show. But this is a very good team. They got a lot of good players. I don't really have anything bad to say about them. They made it to the conference finals back-to-back years, and they knocked out the Knicks back-to-back years. So anybody that was surprised that they beat the Knicks, that's on you. And like we've talked about throughout these playoffs and, well, really throughout this series was lost in Game 1. That's the bottom line. Had the Knicks held on and won Game 1, this could have been a different series. They could have played a Game 7 on Monday, and who knows what would have happened. Who knows? Are the Knicks playing tomorrow? But that's how we like to do things. It's coulda, shoulda, woulda when it comes to our sports teams. We've been doing that since going back to, our days doing the show on WQAQ. So, look, it was a successful year for the Knicks. There's going to be changes on the way. Ben, let me get your thoughts on what transpired over the weekend.
All right, but before we go into this, please excuse my voice.
Oh, yeah,
If I
that's
have
right.
any coughing fit, watch out. I'm getting over a virus. So I'm going to try and get through this as best I can. Um, to put a cap on the series, what it boiled down to, you really hit a lot of it, Kenny. It's the turnovers and the lack of defense. Two areas that the Knicks really pride themselves on and did a really exceptional job in terms of the Celtics series and then the preceding Pistons series before that. The defense just disappeared against Indiana, and maybe that was because of the different style of play that they run in terms of their up-tempo offense and their three-point shooting mindset. This team is really good. I don't want anyone to say that, well, the Knicks lost to a bad team, because that's just not the case. Rick Carlisle, as I had mentioned, I think going into the series too, is that a lot of people forget he won an NBA championship with the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. Like, he's been down this road before, and he knows what it's like to be in these types of big games and situations. And I mean, really just got to give all credit to the Pacers. And it bit the Knicks again in Game 6 because, like you said, 17 turnovers leading to 34 points off of those turnovers. Pacers shot 51% from three. Pascal Siakam had 31. When Pascal Siakam has a pair of 30-point games in a series, you're already up against it. And Tyrese Halliburton, of course, with 21 points, 13 assists as well. So he did his fair share as well in this Game 6. And you got to give all the credit to them because the Knicks, unfortunately, didn't have enough in the end. And we've talked about that lack of consistency, especially with Karl Anthony Towns on these previous episodes, and that, if Cat wasn't ready to show up in these big games, if the team wasn't willing to adjust and, put forth a comprehensive effort, then they weren't going to be able to win this series. I think Reggie Miller said this on the TNT broadcast, which, by the way, shout out to the guys at TNT with their last Inside the NBA, last game broadcast, everything. It was a great atmosphere, and glad that they got a good series to go out with. But I think Reggie said this, the series was won and lost in Game 1, and that's really what it boils down to. If the Knicks don't blow that 14-point lead with 2.5 minutes to go, who knows where this series could have gone. Because to think about how that Game 1 had transpired, when Jalen Brunson was in foul trouble, had to go to the bench, and the Knicks made a 14-0 run in that span. And then it was all forgotten because Aaron Nesmith got the Steph Curry juice and hit every single possible three down the stretch of that game. So I think a lot of the series weighs on that, and just that the Knicks had critical errors in some areas of their game. And like I said, I think the one thing that Indiana does well is they disrupt other teams with that up-tempo offense and the different style of gameplay that they have compared to other teams in the NBA. And as you said, I think they can certainly get one and maybe two games off the Thunder. I think that's definitely the more intriguing part of what is now going to be, I think, a rather unique NBA Finals that we haven't seen in the past. Granted, most of the public probably won't care. The
The
numbers won't
casuals
be
aren't
great.
really that excited for it. There's no LeBron,
Yeah,
no Curry, no Kevin Durant, no big market in these finals. They're kind of tuning out
yeah,
for this.
yeah, but in my opinion, I think it's really unique, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that matchup can bring for the NBA Finals. And then I know we're going to get into this, but I'll open it up about the release of head coach Tom Thibodeau here. I'm definitely a little bit surprised at this juncture just because the Knicks made the playoffs in 4 of the last 5 seasons with him at the helm. They made their first conference finals appearance in 25 years, and Tom Thibodeau had, I believe, close to 250 wins in the 6 seasons that he was here, which is by far way better than any Knicks coach had been since Woodson, when the Knicks went
Yeah,
to the playoffs in
and also
2013.
got eliminated by the Pacers.
Exactly. See, the cycle just keeps running in circles here. But in some ways, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. and here's why. Tom Thibodeau, I said it, I think, earlier on in the series. He is a phenomenal culture builder. What he built in terms of team culture and morale and belief in one another with this Knicks team, to think of the lineups that he had to rotate in and out for 6 years was pretty insane. If you really think about where this Knicks team once was. I mean, think about when Obi Toppin was a Knick with R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, Jericho Sims. I mean, these are just some of the guys that Tom Thibodeau had to deal with before the Julius Randles, the Dante DiVincenzo's, and ultimately the Jalen Brunsons and the Karl Anthony Towns and all these other players. Like, I give so much respect to Tom Thibodeau. I mean, in my eyes, he's always been a great coach. He's been a great defensive coach. But in some ways, I'm not sure if he was going to be the guy that was going to get the Knicks over the top and get them a championship. Now, it's easy to say now since they've been eliminated by the Pacers and the season's over and they were just 2 games away from an NBA Finals. But in some ways, I just think that Thibs built the structure and he got this team back to relevancy. Now, I think at this point, James Dolan, Leon Rose, and the rest of the front office, I think, just want a new voice, and they want somebody else to get in the ring now with this team and see what is possible. I believe, though, that if the Knicks did this, they better be going after Michael Malone, because, in my opinion, that's the only, I think, reasonable coaching hire that you could do now after you fired a coach who was fantastic defensively throughout most of his career. And that was where Thibs shined, because he was a defensive-minded coach, and you don't see a lot of that in the NBA. Exhibit A with the Boston Celtics shooting up 100 threes in a span of 10 minutes. So at the end of the day, I am a little bit surprised, but I'm not totally opposed to it. I think it's an interesting point now in the Knicks franchise where it's like, if they can get somebody else who is the caliber of a Karl Anthony Towns or a Jalen Brunson, even an OG Anunoby-like player, if they can get somebody else in here to join this team with a new coach at the helm, I think the Knicks are going to be right back, at this stage next season. I think they have really proven that this is a sign of change in New York. I mean, after all the years of misery and pain and suffering, it's a nice breath of fresh air to see.
They
that
better
the
be
Knicks,
taking those street signs down now.
Well, yeah, after being eliminated, no more Jalen Brunson Avenue or Josh Hart.
Those better
Street,
be taken down. Those better be taken down. Don't want to see it.
Now we don't need to see that now. But shout out to Tom Thibodeau, seriously, because if it wasn't for this guy, I don't know if the Knicks would have been able to get out of the mud like they did and become a contender over a span of what was really 6 awesome seasons. So it's on to the next, on to the future. When you look back at this season as a whole, I do believe it was a success. I said that it would be a sense of disappointment if they didn't beat the Pacers drawing this matchup, but maybe the Pacers are just a lot better than who we thought they were. This team manhandled.
Well, like I said, they've been to the conference finals back-to-back years. It's not a fluke.
And that's the thing that people forget too. And also this year with the run that they've had, they manhandled the Milwaukee Bucks, who were a little bit injured, don't get me wrong. But then they tore apart what we thought was a dominant Cleveland Cavaliers team all season long, and now they beat the New York Knicks in 6 games. Yeah. And they've had some historic comebacks along the way. Yeah. This team has been built for the postseason, and I mean, seriously, I know a lot of people are like, screw the Pacers, we hate them. I wish them all the luck against the Thunder because they've earned it. They've earned this spot in the NBA Finals, and I'm really excited to see what they can do. But as for the Knicks, this puts a bow on what was one heck of a ride. So, and I don't regret any minute of it. I enjoyed it all.
That was well said. That was well said. So I guess since you opened it up, I'll give you my take. So, like you, I was definitely a little surprised, but at the same time, we still probably should have saw this coming. I kind of related to, believe it or not, I do relate it, and I forget, I think it might have been John Jastrzemski again. But I think he brought up the example of when the Yankees made it to the championship series in 2017 and they let Joe Girardi go. And if you remember, in the division series of that season, right, they were down 2-0 to the then Cleveland Indians. And I said, especially after what happened in Game 2 of that series where Girardi didn't challenge the foul ball off the knob of Lindor's bat, and then Lindor hit the grand slam, the Indians came back and won the game, and they were down 2-0 at that point. I said, if the Yankees lose this series, if they get swept, Girardi should be gone. Now, the Yankees ended up coming back and winning that series, and they got all the way to Game 7 of the championship series with the team that you did not expect would be anywhere near that scenario. And the Yankees ended up losing. But I said, look, they came one win away from the World Series. Girardi should come back. And what happened? They ended up letting Girardi go. Because, of things behind the scenes with some of the players, they wanted to go in a different direction. So I kind of related to what happened here with the Knicks. Now, the Yankees are a team that has been to the championship series countless times. They made it to the World Series last year. The Knicks, it's been so long since they've gotten to that point. And I thought, all right, they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Thibs should stay. Because you kept seeing, as we were getting closer and closer to the playoffs, that, could Thibs be gone? And I even asked you the question, if they choked against the Celtics, would Thibs be gone? And you said no. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, he should stay, right? And then once they got to the conference finals, you're thinking, yeah, he should be fine. They haven't done this in 25 years. And then they end up letting him go. And I'm kind of mixed because I think he did such a good job this year with this team, getting them as far as they did, that I don't think he deserved to lose his job. I understand it. And why I think we should have saw this coming is because look at what happened with a couple of teams in the NBA. You mentioned Michael Malone. The Nuggets let him go right around the time the playoffs were about to start. Same thing with the Grizzlies and their head coach. They let them go when they were going to make the playoffs. Now, the Grizzlies kind of fell apart at the end of the season. They were like a top 3 team in the Western Conference. They dropped all the way down to a play-in team. The Nuggets, hey, they pushed the Thunder to Game 7 despite letting go of Michael Malone. But this is kind of what we see in the NBA. These coaches, no one's safe. And, these coaches get recycled. I mean, look at the guys that won championships, like Michael Malone. They let him go. Budenholzer with the Bucks, he's been moved around. Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers. All these guys are constantly changing teams despite winning championships. Now, I know Doc Rivers, he's kind of fallen off since, his championship days with the Celtics. All right. But you know what I'm saying, though. Like, there's constant changes no matter what you do. Michael Malone won a championship a couple years ago with the Nuggets, and he's gone. And Tom Thibodeau, he didn't make it to the finals with the Knicks. So, that's why I'm saying we should have saw this coming. But I think he probably still should have bought himself more time. I think next year, if the Knicks didn't do as good, if they didn't go as far, then okay, then you make a change. But you gave the Knicks something that they haven't done in years. And you pulled the plug. And they better bring in somebody that is going to take them over the top then. Because if they don't, then I think they definitely made a huge mistake by letting him go. And I get it. Because Tom Thibodeau, there's a ceiling with him. There's a ceiling with him. He hasn't taken a team to the promised land. Now, he may change the culture like you talked about and, point the organization in the right direction. But can he elevate you to that promised land? He hasn't done that. So I understand that. You have to bring in someone that is going to do that. You hear Michael Malone's name being thrown around. If that's the guy, okay, I'm okay with it. But if you bring in someone that's unproven and this team ends up taking a step back, like I said, I think they made a mistake. But that's down the line. And the other thing, too, is the makeup of this team. We were talking about this before we started recording. Are they going to make a huge splash? And you said they could be going after Giannis. I think one of the most important things with a team is, you want to keep everybody together for chemistry. I mean, obviously a lot of the guys on this team, the Nova Knicks, Bridges, Brunson, Hart, they all played together. But you also had Karl Anthony Towns, who everybody had to get used to playing with, right? OG's coming back for a whole year. These guys still had to gel, and it finally gelled during this run. They got all the way to the conference finals, and now if you end up trading for Giannis, you're going to trade probably a big piece going back to Milwaukee, and then you kind of have to start all over again. So, and the Pacers, they've been together. So that's one of the biggest reasons why they've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals back-to-back years, and now they're playing in the NBA Finals. So I don't really think there needs to be major tinkering with the roster. I think you need to have a deeper team. Build out that bench, and maybe you move, like I said before, you move Josh Hart to the bench. You try to get, somebody else in the starting lineup, but I don't think you should be trading a big piece going to another team, and then you're getting a big piece in return, and then you got to start all over. I mean, look, if you trade for Giannis, I'll take it, but I don't know. I feel like you could work with what you have. You just got to add to it. So that's kind of how I feel about it. What are your thoughts on what I just said?
Those are all very good points, and I think that's actually a really good mindset to have, Kenny, about thinking about this on a New York scope as Girardi in 2017, because that's actually a really similar analogy that I didn't really think of. I mean, that this is like exactly – well, I mean, granted, the Knicks aren't necessarily like, they're not the youngest team out there. Like the Yankees were the baby bombers and all that. But it was still a bit of a shock to the system that Girardi was let go. And now seeing Thibs in that same situation, it's like, yeah, I didn't really think of it that way, but it is a good point by you. And yeah, it's like I said too, it's like I just feel like the Knicks want a different direction right now. And now today we've already been hearing plenty of rumor mills, first of all, about the thing with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is not going to be a Milwaukee Buck next year. I think we all know that. Like, he definitely seems like he's done, and he wants to go somewhere else where he, wants to try and win a championship. And to him, Milwaukee doesn't feel like the place that he can do that. So I just have a feeling that he might, the Knicks really might pursue him and trade Karl Anthony Towns, because now we've heard the reports today too that Karl Anthony Towns might get traded. And the Knicks are looking to maybe move on from him. And granted, I see why, because Cat has never been a defensive catalyst. I mean, we saw that throughout a chunk of the postseason. He was not always there defensively for this team. It was Bridges, it was Anunoby, it was Hart. Like, we saw those guys making the big plays.
It was Shamet.
And Shamet too. Can believe it or not, Landry Shamet had impactful minutes in this Pacers series, which was even more impressive to what this team was and what Thibs did. And then on the coaching front, a lot of people are talking today about Ime Udoka.
Yeah,
now,
I did see that.
I would be shocked if the Rockets let Ime Udoka go. I can't see it. I would highly doubt that happens. I mean, Jason Kidd's been thrown out there from Dallas. I don't know about him. But supposedly the clubhouse leader right now, Johnny Bryant, who was Thibs' assistant. Bryant is a very young guy. He's only 39 years old. He's certainly qualified for the job. Do I think he will get it ultimately? I don't think so. There's one guy that you mentioned as well that I mentioned too. Michael Malone. Michael Malone is out there right now. He was doing coverage with ESPN for the Western Conference Finals. And I'm not sure if he's doing the NBA Finals, but he's been on TV the last 2 weeks. And I'll tell you one thing. As much as I think it's cool to add him to the team, this guy needs to be on an NBA sideline somewhere. He's too knowledgeable, and he is just a great coach. I think he's one of those good character builders as well, which it's why it shocked me that the Nuggets let him go too. Like you said, nobody is safe in the NBA right now. I mean, what's going to be next? Are the Celtics going to get, a 45 win season next year with an unhealthy Jason Tatum for a good chunk of it? And then they're going to be like, yeah, we're going to let you go, Missoula. Maybe. Who knows? I would highly doubt that, but it just goes to show you that this is another example of how NBA coaches should be waking up every day and saying, well, maybe this is going to be my last. And they should be coaching like that. So I don't know what really to make of all this. I think Ime Udoka would be phenomenal as well for the Knicks. I think those are their only two options, though. Either you grab Michael Malone right away here, or you really try and talk with the Rockets and be like, hey, or you go straight to Ime Udoka and be like, hey, we'll give you this huge contract. Come coach us, the New York Knicks. Now, there's more crazy fans out there who are thinking that Dan Hurley's going to be in the ring for this. Are you kidding me? Look,
If there's
I'm a
anybody,
big
yeah, I was gonna say just before you're about to speak, if
yeah.
anybody knows UConn basketball, it's you. So
Look, I love Dan Hurley. I think he's a phenomenal college coach. He pushes his guys all the time. When it translates to the NBA, I don't think he's going to fit the game really well. It's the NBA is totally different from college now, especially in this modern era with NIL and everything in college, and then you make your transition to the game, and you already have a financial base for yourself. It's just completely different. And I mean, I know Hurley was in the mix for the Kentucky job
oh yeah,
and the Lakers job last year. He turned them down twice. He turned down both those jobs. If he became the Knicks head coach, I would be highly surprised. I don't see it happening. I think that's crazy, honestly, because he's set right now at UConn. And he's ready to go chase another championship over there again, not in the NBA, because he would not be a championship coach right away. That's for sure.
Yep.
So I think those are the next only two options. You either got to go with Ime Udoka or Michael Malone. And like we've been saying throughout this entire show, it's like the Knicks do need to make that splash in free agency again. That they need to get somebody else on this team to complement the pieces that they have. Or, you think about maybe trading Mikal Bridges or somebody else to try and get that burden off your back and bring somebody else in and get some capital in return, because that's the other thing that concerns me about the Knicks. They sold off those 5 first-rounders for Mikal Bridges. And right now, it's looking like a really hefty price. And nothing on Mikal. He has definitely stepped up. He did in the postseason. But when you look at this 24-25 season as a whole, not necessarily. So there's still a lot of questions to be solved with this team. But I'm definitely excited, though, for where they are right now. And I think that if they can pull the right strings, this team will be right back here in a conference finals next year.
Yeah, I agree. And, when you look at the Celtics, I mean, they're not going to be 100% next year, and we've talked about it a couple times. There's going to be some subtractions in the offseason. Cleveland, you got to worry about. Indiana, you got to worry about. The Knicks could definitely be a top 3 team once again in the conference. But, yeah, they have to make the right moves. They got to make the right moves. You got to get guys in that, can give you good minutes off the bench. They need better outside shooting because, the three-point shooting was not great. And that's one of the things, like, if they trade Karl Anthony Towns, like, yes, not very good defensively, but he can give you those three-pointers. Now, sometimes he shoots them at the wrong times and he's shooting them from the logo, basically, and you're saying, why are you doing this? But that's one of the good things about having Cat on the team is, his outside shooting. And, when he gets to the basket, he's a guy that could drive to the basket too. So, yeah, outside shooting, get guys that could also play defense. I mean, it's easier said than done, but that's really what you got to address in the offseason. And, hopefully when we come back around for the playoffs next year and the Knicks are in it, cut down on the turnovers and also make your free throws. Because that's the other thing, too. Down the stretch in game one especially, if OG Anunoby and Karl Anthony Towns make their free throws, again, we could be going back to Madison Square Garden for a game 7 on Monday, and who knows what happens. So, we'll see. We will definitely see. But any final remarks, Ben, before we wrap up?
Well, I will say this to spin this into a positive situation, okay? Yes, New York sports fans, it's been a painful ride since the Giants last hoisted a trophy in 2012. I mean, look, all respect to the New York Liberty. They're not the Big Four, but New York did see a championship, so I will shout them out there. But we're getting in the right direction, folks. But it has been painful to come up short. Think back to when this all started with the cycle in 2019. Yankees lost in Houston on the road, Game 6 of an ALCS. 2024. Rangers lose on the road in Florida in Game 6 of an Eastern Conference Finals. This year, 2025, Knicks lose on the road in Game 6 of a conference finals. And then throw back to 2024, when the Yankees got to a World Series, lost in 5 on their home field. We're getting close. These have been some brutal losses.
Don't forget the Mets, too. The Mets lost in Game 6 against the Dodgers. Yes. Don't forget them, too.
That, too. So there's a pattern. We're losing in Game 6s on the road. So now it's time to turn the table. It's time for New York to finally go chase a championship. Keep the faith, everyone. Keep the faith. Don't let the Boston fans get to you. We don't care about their titles. They can talk about title droughts, whatever the heck they want to say. We're the ones who got to show up and show out. So let's go, New York.
I like that. I like to hear that. See, that's the passion that I miss, again, when we used to do the radio shows back at WQAQ. So
I just muted my mic after that. I had a huge cough, but it was worth it. It was totally worth it.
All right. Well, I appreciate Ben coming on. He's not 100%, but you know what? We do it for the fans. We do it for the fans. The 3 or 4 fans that we got out there right now. But that is pretty much it, though. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I mean, how many times when we used to do the radio shows, we kept saying, when is New York sports going to come back and be good again and be relevant? Well, we got several teams that are relevant, which is good. But now we got to push it even further, get them over the top. So, yeah, hopefully.
So maybe a 2025 Subway Series.
You keep saying that. You keep saying that. That's not the first time you've said that.
I'm telling you, it's written in the cards. I can see it now.
Okay, yeah, all right. So, again, we'll clip this if that ends up happening. But we're going to end it here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, all of that. Check us out on Spotify. You can listen to us on the go. Also, we're on TikTok. So until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off with Ben Upson. Have a good one, and we will talk to you guys next time. Take care.
See you.